Hello, this is CBS News anchor Brendan Miller, and today we're going to be talking about the Weather Underground organization of the late 1960s. Before we get into the Weather Underground, it is important to understand its roots. The Weather Underground came from the idea of a group based out of 1959 called the Students for a Democratic Society. The main goal of this group was to get U.S. citizens more involved with their government politically. The Weather Underground organization, or better known as just the Weather Underground, was founded on the campus of the University of Michigan in 1969. The roots of the group's name came from a song by Bob Dylan called the Subterranean Homesick Blues. The lyrics went, "You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows." The group was originally called the Weathermen, and the Weather Underground was an American radical left organization, and before going on you must understand what this means. Because the group was a radical left organization, they sought out a society in which there are equal social and economic opportunities, where no one has excessive wealth over each other. The Weather Underground had one main goal. Their goal was to create a secret revolutionary party that would overthrow the U.S. government. The group's basic task was to make a revolution concerning the wealth of the country. They wanted to destroy imperialism and live in a classless world. Basically, the group wanted communism, and in order to get it, they had different protest strategies, and they wanted action right away. Some even considered them a terrorist group because of how unpeaceful they were going about their business. The first act of the group was in Chicago. Desperate for recruits and action, they planned a 4-day protest, known as the Days of Rage. They did this in revenge on the Chicago Police Department, who had beat several demonstrators during the 1968 Democratic Convention. During the Weather Underground's protests, there was much more violence than seen in other protests of the time. They were trying to disrupt the fabric of society and smash social order. The group's next big riot consisted of 300 protesters prepared for battle, and this took place on October 6, 1969. During this riot that took place in Chicago, the group blew up and bombed a statue given to the local police, and it resulted in another riot taking place. After the second riot had finished, which branched off from the first riot in Chicago, more than half the group had been arrested and many were injured. The Weather Underground had been known for believing in the civil rights movement, pairing with the Black Panthers, and they were also known for being against Vietnam. It wasn't until December of 1969 when the group literally went underground and away from society. Here they planned bomb raids on political significant points. This is when they became very. The group began these violent acts by bombing places such as the Pentagon after Nixon had ordered bomb raids in Vietnam, and they also ordered the bombing of an NYC judge who was involved in a Black Panthers case. After 11 months of bombings, 3 men of their own organization had died making bombs, and when the bombs stopped, the next stunt the organization pulled involved Timothy Leary. The group was paid by a large psychedelics distributor called the Brotherhood of Eternal Love $20,000 to help break Leary out of prison, and they did it. By the mid-1980s, the group had evaporated. Members had been on the FBI's top 10 list, deaths had been recorded, and many violent protests were left behind from the group. It's amazing how college students of this time became radical extremists, all for the goal of political and social reform. This is Brendan Miller with CBS. Have a good night, folks.